Hello everyone, welcome back to another great episode of Raihana's Cuisines. Today we're going to be doing a basic meat curry. Have had a lot of you request everyday meals, so this is just going to be a very basic meat curry that I make. Very simple ingredients. For that we're going to need about 1/4 cup of olive oil, or you could get away with less, but the more you have in it, the better the onions cook. Here I have 1 small onion that I have just taken and crushed it in my food processor, and I also added 1 anaheim pepper in it to give it a really good taste and some zest. Now, I just wanted to give you a pointer here, some tips. When I crush my onions, I usually do like 4 or 5 of them with the anaheim peppers. I crush it. I make bags like this. I label it and then I freeze it. This is for the days when I don't want to run my food processor and wash it. And I'll tell you, sometimes I'm just lazy. I don't want to do it in the, wash the food processor. So I've got that ready. It's frozen. And there's sometimes days when I get really sick. And so when I want to do a quick curry, my onions are ready in the freezer. So you're going to need that. We're going to need 1 cinnamon stick. We're going to need about a teaspoon of garam masala, a teaspoon of cumin and coriander powder. We're going to start off with 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric, and we'll see how that goes. If we need to add more, we'll add 1/2 teaspoon more. Then I'm going to also add about 3-4 dried red peppers here. I have 2 pounds of freshly cut, about 2-inch cubes of beef. And you can see that there's no fat in this meat, and that's how I cook. I cook without fat. I also have 2 tablespoons of very good quality Spanish paprika and 2 tablespoons of Kashmiri chili powder in here. Now, you could leave the paprika out completely. We just don't eat very spicy foods, or I can't. So that's why I kind of want to put in that. If you're just using the Kashmiri red chili powder, it's going to give a really nice color, and that's why I use that. But the paprika also gives it a very nice red, rich color. Salt to taste, and then we're also going to be doing 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And very optional, I have potatoes that we're going to be putting in the end of the curry that I have washed and I've diced and I've quartered. And they're in water right now, so they don't turn black on us. And then I have some water here that we're gonna add to the curry, because I want this curry not to be thick at all. I want it to be runny. This is gonna be enjoyed with some lacha parathas, and I've got the video of that, and rice. So let's get started. I'm gonna turn my stove on. Into my stove goes my olive oil. Now, I know my kids also don't like too much oil, but with this curry, it just, it needs that little bit of oil to cook the onions in. And so as soon as that gets just a little bit warm, I'm going to add 1 cinnamon stick in here. Now, I don't do whole spices in my curry. You can. My kids and my husband don't like the whole cardamom and the whole cloves and everything. That's why I'm just going to do garam masala, because that has everything in there. So once our cinnamon stick is getting really nice and warm, I'm just going to give it a little bit. I can see it's getting warm. So at this point, let me go ahead and first add my dried chili peppers in here. And I'm doing this in my pressure cooker because this is what's going to cook the curry really quickly. Otherwise, it takes a while. So in goes my onions and anaheim mixture. Now I want to cook this so until the onions get a little bit of color in it. So in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and add my salt in there. The salt is going to be to taste. Now the other thing also I wanted to point out is that it's nice to use this kind of onions, because when you use the onions that you cut up, unless you cut it in extremely small pieces, sometimes you can see that in the curry, and I don't like to see that. This is one curry I like to have smooth, completely smooth. So that is why I put my onions in the food processor. And also the onions will take out its own juices. So for this curry, it's okay if you have a little bit more liquid from the onions. All right. So at this point, I'm going to start adding my masalas, because I want the masalas to cook in the oil. So, and that also gives that a really nice taste. So in goes my coriander and cumin powder. I'm going to add only half a teaspoon of garam masala. I'll add more later on. And the turmeric. I'll add about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. This will also help with the color. You can add fresh tomatoes in there if you like. I like to cook up my tomato paste a little bit. I'm going to add my paprika and chili and Kashmiri chili powder in there, and you'll see the color will completely darken up. See that? And for this curry, I personally like it when it has a really nice deep maroon color. In goes my meat. Now we'll just saute this just for a little bit. At this time, my stove is on high. So it's fine if you put it on high. Make sure everything is really mixed well. Just so that you can see the meat just brown outside for just a little bit. Now you can do this on the stovetop. The only one thing, if you do this on the stovetop, is that it's going to take longer to cook, because the beef will take a while for it to cook. That's why this is one dish that I do on the in the pressure cooker. So now I'm going to go ahead and add some water in there, and I don't have a measurement for that. I just want you to see just enough where it is going to cover the meat. And I'm going to add just a little bit more. I'm going to cover this, and I'm going to cook it until I have 3 whistles that blow. So basically, you just want to put your water about an inch above the meat. All right. So at this time, I'm going to cover it. I'm going to have it boil once, and then I'll cover it up, and I'll turn that into medium low. Let it cook until it gives me 3 whistles, and then we're gonna go ahead and open it, and I'll show you what it looks like. We'll then add the potatoes to it and let that cook up until the potatoes are completely nice and soft, and we'll top it off with coriander in the end, fresh coriander, and then it's gonna be ready to enjoy. So we're back. I got 3 whistles out of it. I want to open it in front of you guys. So I want you to see, I hope the meat is cooked, so we'll see. Okay, the color looks really, really good. And if you see there's no pieces of onion showing, that's how I like it. And now I just want to see if our meat is nice and tender. Oof, really, really good. That's really good. So at this point, what I am going to do is, I had turned it off. I'm going to turn it back on. I'll add my potatoes in here. I'm going to let my potatoes boil in the curry just until they're completely nice and soft. And then I'm going to show you, we're going to finish it off with a taste test to make sure that everything tastes wonderful in it and it's a good tasty curry, and we'll then top it off with coriander. So you can see that there is a little bit of oil on top, which you want in a curry, but there's no ½ inch of oil, which is how I like my curry. If you look at the potatoes, they're really nice and tender. So at this time I am going to go ahead, turn my stove off, and let's go ahead and plate it. The color is exactly how I like it. I like it where it's like that deep mahogany, deep red. And the best part is I don't see the pieces of onions in there. And the potatoes are completely optional, but that's how I grew up eating this curry, so. And I want to show you how this cinnamon has completely opened up for us, which just means that it has really infused into the curry. Look at that, how beautiful that looks. Okay, bring it over here. And I have done a taste test, but I'll do one more. So good, just like how my mom makes it, except it's a little bit more spicier than what I would have liked it to be, but that's okay, it's not a big deal. So at this point, I'm just going to add my fresh cilantro on top of it. There you go. And that's about it. That's how quickly you can make this dish in the pressure cooker. I also have some parathas here that I made that I will be serving it with. If you haven't watched my video of these parathas, I highly recommend you do so. I will put a link on the corner here so you guys can watch this video right after you watch the curry video. So that's about it. And I was going to add more garam masala in it, but with the taste test, I think it tastes just perfect. It's not overpowering, so I am going to just leave that. And so I'm going to leave it up to you. If you want to go ahead and add that ½ teaspoon, go ahead and do so. So today we made very simple meat and potato curry. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Raihana's Cuisines. Hope you can join me here next time with another great video. See you then, friends.